Hi, good evening. Welcome once again to the Gildarie Freddie Kissoon Show. We also coming to you live on YouTube. You can get it there on the Daybreak News as well. Wherever you are, whatever it is that you're doing, good night, good morning. I hope that you're staying safe. If you're on the roadways and you're listening to us, make sure that you're driving safe and take all precautions to protect yourself and the other road users. I know that it has been a very grueling week for all, and you're looking to kick back and have a good weekend. Today, we've decided to have a different format because of developments over the last couple of days. Developments that has to do with the media in Guyana, and of course, as media people, as people who comment on things and talk about things in Guyana and around the world. We are also subject and open to criticisms and comments as well. Uh, these are good in a democratic society. As we go forward, I've always said, if you want to develop a country, you want to take it to the next step. Even people who are in the public eye, they have to be very careful in what they do. And when people, the kind of lives that they live, they have to hold themselves above the fray. They have to be able to be subjected to the kind of scrutiny that the whole world, the country could look at them. Because if we asking you to do certain things, to obey the laws, to have good governance, can be telling people to do those things and you're not towing the line. The last 2 days, I saw a video by my former publisher. When I was at Kaiser News, it was a publisher. He was the owner of Kaiser News, or he's still the owner of Kaiser News. And I worked almost a decade and a half at Kaiser News before retiring 2 years ago. Um, and in that video, he made some statements with regards to my co-host Freddie Kissoon. As you know, early this week here, Freddie Kissoon made some revelations on this program with regards to a column that was dropped. And then subsequently, when I looked at that video, I learned that Freddie Kissoon, after 25 years, was being let loose. He was fired, and basically his column in the Kaiser News was being dropped. Um, when Freddie Kissoon raised this issue on Monday, I said to Freddie, did Mr. Lal or anybody from the newspaper call you about a column that you were discussing now that was dropped? Did they ask you for an alternative? And he said no. I did not have any further discussion with Freddie Kissoon until Wednesday. I think it was Wednesday. It was our last, yes, Wednesday evening. I learned that Freddie Kissoon was fired, and the notice of his firing was given by Mr. Glenn Lal, the publisher and the host of the Glenn Lal show on the Kaicho radio. Um, Mr. Lal, during that program, made some statements about Freddie Kissoon, and he has all rights, in my view, to make those statements. He is the publisher of a newspaper, he is the host of a show, and he could make statements. I would be the first one to say, Leonard Gildarie would be the first one to say that when it comes to freedom of speech and the media respect, I would be the first one to jump and say that they should be protected, that people have the right. But those rights come with responsibilities. Um, Mr. Lal, I think Freddie Kissoon, in a very short while, is going to give his take on what transpired because I would have to question him too. I said to Freddie Kissoon that Mr. Lal, the box stops at Mr. Lal. And if he believes that your article, or the editor of the day believes that your article does not meet those standards of what Mr. Lal believes those standards are, or the editor believes those standards are for the newspaper, for Kaiser News in that particular case, then they have the right to throw it out. I just asked Freddie Kissoon, did they call you for a replacement? And he says no. Um, During that program on Wednesday night, Mr. Lal, the Glenn Lal show, Mr. Lal made some statements about Freddie, as I said. And then Gildarie was brought into the fray. Um, I have looked at that piece of video there a couple of times, and I mystified why I was dragged into it. When I left Kaiser News about 2 years back, I retired because I had no choice at that point in time. Journalism is my love. I grew up, I stayed in it for almost 20 years. This year, 2019 would have made 20 years for me in the media. I started at Starbuck News, stayed a year, and then I went abroad. I won some awards with the newspaper I was with abroad. I came back to Guyana after I was arrested. That story is well known for being in journalism, and the government of the day came after me because I was writing about them. Story made the news. You could go on Facebook and find that story there. Starbuck News carried it. I was hired by Mr. Lal. When I retired in 2021, I think it was in January, I was facing a problem with my eyes, and my doctor happens to be Dr. Jane at the Woodlands Hospital. And I could open you guys if you believe you want to think, but the tone of it came across from Mr. Lal. I couldn't see the relevance of Gildarie and the package, the severance package that was given to me, how that came about the firing of Freddie Kissoon, and what relevance that had to do with Freddie Kissoon's column. But that came up nevertheless, and unfortunately, um, I had to shake my head because I've never said anything about my stay in Kaichun News, at least publicly. It was the most formative years of my life when it comes to journalism. I enjoyed every second of it. When I left, I was a chief reporter there. I was an editor. I was hosting a radio program and probably the youngest columnist in the country. And I was fortunate to have been given that privilege. And it was a privilege and an honor to have been serving the people of Guyana. Um, I found it unacceptable that my case could have been brought there, and I didn't speak to Mr. Lal about it. I'm still going through in my mind because Mr. Lal has a right. He also described this program. He says, if you want to see gossip, come across and see the Gildarie Freddie Kissoon Show. Um, he has that right to say that, but I also have the right to say to him that when I joined this program and Freddie and I decided to do it, it was to enlighten the people, to make them aware. I have my own opinion. Mr. Lal has his opinions. He's entitled to that. I think I would want to believe, rather, that we all have the same objectives, which is to develop this country, to educate our people, and to build a better Guyana. I think the president has the same objective. His party has the same objective. I would suspect that the opposition would have the same objectives as well. Freddie Kissoon wanted to hold or to have the forum here tonight. We were planning calling as we always do on Friday, and he says this matter is of utmost importance. He has a right to talk about his stay at Kaiser News and the statements that were made about him, to talk about that as well and give his take. Freddie Kissoon, I would turn the microphone over to you, sir, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Leonard. For those who are listening, please pass on the word through Facebook and other medium. There will be a Freddie Kissoon column in the newspaper. I will continue to write and write in the same vein that I've written the past 34 years as a columnist. Once again, please pass on the word. Very shortly, there will be a Freddie Kissoon column, except it would not be in Kaicho, but the same style, the same format, the same me. Now for what happened. And there are two parts of what happened, and I will ask you to judge for yourself whether Mr. Lal stopped the column or I stopped the column. You have to listen to the series of events, and then I will respond to a very scurrilous tape Mr. Lal gave, in which things need to be corrected. I always believe you have to correct fictions that people say about you. So let's start with what happened. Last Thursday, Mr. Lal called me out of the blue, out of the blue. You would have seen the tape. Mr. Lal said he hasn't spoken to me in years. You would see, we'll come to the tape. I got a call from Mr. Lal out of the blue saying, listen, I need to talk to you as early as possible about your column. These columns are giving me problem. People are criticizing it and saying, you're using the paper as a government mouthpiece. You're gone over. We got to talk. I said, well, I cannot come now. He said, we could come tomorrow. I said, I cannot come tomorrow because tomorrow I'm preparing for my wife hospitalization Saturday. That will take me to Sunday that I look after her, and Monday. I could make it on Tuesday. That is how I see it. He said, all right, fine. Tuesday. I prepared for the bureaucracy for my wife to go into hospital. And the Friday that he wanted to see me, around noon, I think I could have made it. So I called him to say, look, let us get this thing over with. I'm coming to see you. He said, fine. When I reached there and I knocked in his office, I was ushered in. He said, come in. And I saw Mr. G.K.H. Lal there. And I was taken back because I don't want Mr. Lal and I to discuss my column with anybody there. And so the way I postured, it was clear to me that I would like to be alone with Mr. Glenn Lal. Mr. G.K.H. Lal, sensing that, got up to say, well, I am going to leave. Mr. Lal said, no, it's all right. And then I think he saw my countenance and he said, all right, Tuesday. And he fixed the time. He said, Tuesday, 11. Fine. That was it. I know from what he said to me, there was going to be a big fight on Tuesday, but I don't know what he would say. So that was left for Tuesday. On Sunday, I did not see my column. I've been writing for the Kaieteur News since the paper started 28 years ago. My first column, or the first issue of the paper, was on the IMF. So I didn't see this column, and nobody called me or anything. All the editors, including the present one, Mr. Nigel Hines, from all the editors, they would call me. We don't understand this. There are times the papers held up printing about 9 in the night because during the crime spree something happened and I would change my column. I couldn't understand why the column was dropped because the column is a very, very scholarly piece that is not dealing with who said this, who said what have you. The column is a theoretical rejection of apartheid in Guyana. So I didn't see this, and when I called, I was told that Mr. Lal dropped the column. That's what I was told. So through my initiatives, the Guyana Times and the Chronicle carried it as columns. And as you see at the bottom here, columnist note, my column was rejected by the Kaieteur News. So nobody called me, and that was that. On Monday, when I came to this program, I thought that disrespect was too great and too much. That was it. I would not allow that. So I went on the program and I showed the two columns, one by the Guyana Times, one by the Chronicle, and I said this thing should be published. There's an accusation that there's a creeping apartheid against African Guyanese, and I would like to respond to that. That was the end of the matter. That was the end of the matter. My Monday column was carried. I didn't have a problem. I don't go to Kaieteur. I submit my columns. The column Monday was printed. The column for Tuesday, you have to send it in the day before, was printed. The Tuesday at 11, after my column was dropped, that was it. I didn't want to have any discussion with Mr. Lal. I thought my dignity was assaulted. Not after 28 years, not after working for 12 years without a salary increase. And my pay is negligible. But I do that because I felt the column served the purpose, a very vital purpose of letting people know what's going on. So that was it. I finished Mr. Lal called me on Tuesday after about 11:35 because he was expecting me uh, on Tuesday at 11, but I don't know why he was still expecting me after the block with the column. I can remember distinctly I was cutting up dog meat and my hand was dirty. So I answered the phone. This is what happened. This is what happened. It is up to you, if you're a fan of Mr. Lal, to believe it. I'm speaking to the people who have listened to me the past 34 years and read me. He said, "You're not coming on. We supposed to meet today." And I said, was no Mr. Lal, Glenn, you dropped my column. And I thought that the first thing you would be saying to me is about my column. How you could just drop my column, didn't ask me for another column, didn't ask me to discuss it. I am now relating to you without the bad words. From then on, I think I'd be lying if you know me, that I kept my calm. This is what he said to me. You want me to call you on that S, not the bad S, the lighter S that you wrote? You know, in not carrying the column, I saved you. You writing and said they ain't got apartheid in Guyana. You blind or what? They ain't got apartheid in Guyana. You see what these people are doing? Now, in all trueness, I don't know what he meant by these people. I could only assume it's the government because my article was saying there isn't a creeping apartheid in the government. Well, ladies and gentlemen, viewers, that was it for me. The argument went on. He said to me, let me tell you something, and I'm quoting his exact words. I show this thing to people who, when they tell me walk, I walk. When they tell me run, I run. And he called the names. I cannot call that name there. Nobody's going to sue me for libel. Don't worry with that. In another, I told Freddie Gildarie who were the people he called. He said, you know what the people said? The people said, what's wrong with Freddie? He said they ain't got to keep in apartheid there. Look, Glenn, don't carry the thing. And so the argument went on, and I did say at one point to him, you know something? And I used the bad word in front of Madman. You were saying that we got apartheid in Guyana. So the exchange went on. And then here is what I said. I said, okay, if you felt that there's apartheid in Guyana and I encouraging the government, you could have said to me, I'm not carrying this article, Freddie. Freddie, this article is not what I believe in, etc. But you, after 20 years serving this newspaper, writing for little nothing, brought this newspaper up to where it was, a group of us. You could disrespect me and assault my dignity by not contacting me. He said this were his words. And that was the beginning of the end of the conversation. Contact you for what? The S that you wrote? And that was it. Now, I decided after that conversation I would not write for Cacho anymore. Over the years, I thought I should continue to write in despite many difficulties because people wanted it. I sent in my Wednesday column on Tuesday after sending it in the day before. It was on the superstar, the Guyanese superstar, Letitia James. That was sent. I sent my article at 6 o'clock in the morning. That was sent before the conversation with them, like the big boss up. I am saying to you, I would be lying to say I controlled my temper, and he went raging on too. That was it. I had no intention of submitting a column anymore. It so happened on Wednesday, Mr. Lal went on his radio program and said he dropped the column and he fired me. I am not an employee of Cacho News. I don't work at Cacho News. I haven't been at Cacho News in years, so I don't know how Mr. Lal could say he fired me. So that is part one. That is how the column was either dropped by me or Mr. Lal fired me. Now, the Wednesday thing. I don't look at Mr. Lal's show, but I was told about it. I went and looked at it. Hear what I'm telling you, viewers. Hear what I'm telling you, listeners. and hear what I'm telling you, all of those who are in front of their smart TV and smartphone. Please, I implore you, please do not accept anything I say. There is simple method of determining what Mr. Lal said and what I said, and you could verify it simply by a Google search, simply by going to your phone and saying, let me see this, and you will see what are the facts from the fiction, and you could do the Google search yourself. Mr. Lal raged on and talk about Gildarie, talk about me. He didn't talk about the people who built this newspaper, all the foundation's members from 15 to 28 years who served that paper. He said nothing about that. He didn't say that one of the persons that was part and parcel of that paper on the radio, his daughter Tashana Lal, is no longer there. Ms. Lal works and heads a very important public corporation, the Guyana Marketing Corporation. So we're all gone. I was the only one that was left there. Mr. Lal mentioned nothing about the new.
Freddie, I don't think you should be bringing in any facts.
Just wait. Mr. Lal did not say. No, I'm trying to show the point of Mr. Lal's ownership and nature of the paper, that his own daughter has gone elsewhere. Now, Mr. Lal lost one of the nicest persons, another foundation member, Charmaine Granger. Charmaine Granger has just left. And Mr. Lal, no mention in the radio program about these things. That Miss Granger and Mr. Lal had a big blowout, and these were her words to him before she left. You are the Exxon in this company. So there's nothing mentioned about that. Please listen to me and check where the foundation members are. Check the facts that I've just told you. Now, Mr. Lal went on about libels, how he has to be careful. When he looked at the columns, and I've libeled this. Ladies and gentlemen, Guyanese, wherever you are, please look at me and listen to what I am saying. Since 2000, I've written 362 columns a year. And since the year 2000, from there on, I have got one libel. That was with Mr. Jagdeo, and that was resolved. I repeat again, since 2000, I've got one libel. And if you listen to Mr. Lal's thing that he went on, Mr. Lal has 33 libels pending. In 1 year, Mr. Lal had 14 libels. And in the 14 years of all the other newspapers, all the other television stations in Guyana, in the 14 years, they didn't even have 4. In 1 year, Mr. Lal had 14. These are things you can Google. Mr. Lal has 33 outstanding libel writs, 2 of which the court has found him to pay $40 million, $20 million to the former president, Donald Ramatal, and $35 million to Mr. Winston Bassington, who heads the state company NISIL. That is $45 million that he had to lodge at the deeds registry. And there are much more to come. Now, you look at that man and what he said about libels, and I had to be careful with me. Now, please Google Freddie Kissoon. You go on Freddie Kissoon libel, you will see nothing except Barra Jagdeo. Google the libels of the Kaicho News. You will find more, perhaps more than 33. I have said enough. Mr. Gildarie will come, but I will conclude with this. And this is now my philosophical ending to this part, this response to his radio thing. In this life, I think we all human beings, all human beings, every one of us, we are susceptible to people assaulting our dignity. That's because we may have 3 children with no father, and we have to bring up the 3 children. We allow our employer to do all kinds of things to us. We may have a defense lawyer that is lowering our dignity, but you're in his hands because he can get you off of an important case. So there are times that all human beings face with this question of your dignity. I am 72 years of age. I have written for Kaicho News for past 28 years. My daughter is well taken care of now. I don't need no money. I don't need no fancy things. I am going to allow someone at my age to assault my dignity like that. What do I need in life? I came up against the presidency of Forbes Bonham right up to David Granger. Given who I am and given my activism, I could have gone to each of those presidents and asked them for a better life. I never did. Mr. Lal went on about me being in the mouthpiece of the government. This is what he said on his radio program. I'm asking you to kindly listen to it. He said, I'm in the pay of Mr. Jagdeo, and I am getting quite a lot to do Mr. Jagdeo's business. And in the same breath, he called me to say, why you on the Freddie Kissoon Gildarie show? And he quoted me as saying, man, they're giving me something. So I'm getting this large sum from Jagdeo, yet I told Mr. Lal, I'm doing the Freddie Kissoon Gildarie show because I'm getting something. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I could have gone to 6th president and sold my dignity. I worked at university for 26 years and nobody told me what to teach in class. I refuse for any president to buy me. I refuse for the university to tell me what I must teach. And I would not allow, and Gildarie will have to forgive me, and you will have to forgive me. I would not allow a semi-literate man jumping around like a monkey on a radio program to tell me what to write in my column. And after 28 years, no, not at my age, no. I'm not a Glenn Lal. I think I've said enough, and that are the facts. Please, again, don't accept what I said. Find out where the foundation members rebuild that newspaper. Here is one man who for 15 years worked there and built that newspaper. We're all gone. I was the only one left, and I won't tolerate that from no one. No one. Those are the facts. Those are the truth. And I put my hand on my heart and said, on my family, everything I said tonight in relation to Glenn Lal, that is what happened. I have my ways. I have my big mouth. I'm aggressive. I'm controversial. I'm not afraid to say what's on my mind, and I'm not afraid to say what have been said to me. And I paid the consequences for that. Everything I said there, from the Thursday when I got the call from him, until he said those nonsense on the radio station, everything, my heart is on my hand, is factual.
Thank you, Freddie. It was the former First Lady of the United States, I think, Michelle Obama, says that when they go low, you go high. At the end of the day, Freddie Kissoon, I'm still going to be a journalist, and I would have to put you through the microscope here. Of course, I was described by Mr. Lal as being a sidekick to you, and I had no problems with Mr. Lal when I left. As I speak now, I have to go do an operation on my eye to replace the lens. I've been putting it off for a long time. I have to do it. I have floaters in the eye. I can't drive properly in the night. I've stopped doing that or eased considerably. But Mr. Lal made some statements about you. I would like you to defend them to the people of Guyana from a business perspective. And Mr. Lal argued that you had fallen numbers. And he says, as publisher, when he went to see the analytics, the numbers that are on his website, he saw that your numbers were dropping. I would like you to respond to that.
Yes,
Fred Kissoon. This is Gildarie. The reporter asks you to respond
sure.
to that.
I looked at the tape. He said the numbers been dropping since 2018. What the first thing to say is what is called the automatic thing to say. I don't believe a word Mr. Lal said. I've known Mr. Lal for the entirety of the newspaper, and I don't believe. But let's now do the analysis. If from 2018, the viewership of Freddie Kissoon was going down, I would like to know what in the Kaicho news was going up. Was it Peeping Tom? Was it which other was it Mr. Lal and the all thing? Mr. Lal would have to tell us what in the paper that was going up whilst Freddie Kissoon was going down. You know, we could say anything, but outside there, when people watch when you're talking and watch when you're saying, it's another thing. That is number one. Number two, if the readership of the Freddie Kissoon column was going down, can anyone tell me which other column in which other newspaper was then going up? Good. Mr. Lal on the very program said that this program here is a gossip column. I started out by telling you there are ways that you can tell whether somebody's talking nonsense or not. You go to YouTube and you punch in the Glenn Lal Show. If the viewership is more than 1,000, that is not the pattern. You go and punch in any program with the Freddie Kissoon Gildarie Show, and not one is under 3,000, and 99% is between 5,000 and rising. Now, people don't want to read Freddie Kissoon. Freddie Kissoon numbers are dropping. Mr. Lal numbers are probably raising. But it is beyond comparison to judge what Mr. Lal says. One man flying around talking about a mono subject, oil. And the Freddie Kissoon Gildarie Show is a gossip column. Gildarie, I just think that was a defense mechanism. And if my readership is dropping, then there have got to be something mysterious in Kaicho News, and that mysterious thing is rising as against my own.
The reporter in me, sir, and this is no gossip, sir, is going to have to ask you then, what was the real reason that you were fired? You believe?
Yeah, okay. Mr. Lal said, no, my God, I keep stressing, go to the program that he recorded Wednesday and listen to him. Then you will know who is the culprit, who is depraved. Mr. Lal went on his program and said, I haven't seen Freddie Kissoon for 2 years. That it is more than 2 years. I saw Mr. Lal on 2015, and we were in his office, and I wrote this in my column. He said to me, remember the last time when the PPP lost, I gave you some money in 2015. Look, I got $300,000 on the table there. I got to give you that again because, you know, you played no small part. And I said, it was so absurd. I just didn't take it. That's the only time I saw Mr. Lal on 2015. 1 and 2 times from 2015 and 2020, which came, the radio program. Gildarie and I were doing that radio program, and let me say this. Those words that Mr. Lal said about Leonard Gildarie, I am not Leonard Gildarie. Let me lower my voice. I am not Leonard Gildarie. That he said that he was doing nothing and he find a salary fee by telling me go up to that radio station. That radio station was doing absolutely nothing compared to the other radio station. Leonard Gildarie took that radio station and put it on the global map. And it began with the election watch. and then I joined him for 2 weeks. And ladies and gentlemen, you should have seen the numbers. There was nothing below 100,000 when Leonard Gildarie and I were doing that radio station. So he came into the radio station and he would say things, and I would be there with my headpiece on. I would say it's for more than 2 years that I've actually spoken to Mr. Lal. Now, ask yourself why a columnist who helped start the paper and was there for 28 years haven't spoken to the publisher in years. The truth of the matter is that I didn't want to speak to Mr. Lal. I didn't want to associate with Mr. Lal. I kept my association with Kaicho News because I believe from all the vibes I got, people wanted to read the column, people subscribed to the column. I wanted nothing to do with Mr. Lal. As the Freddie Kissoon column continue, you will hear more about all the things that Mr. Lal have done, and I've been there for 28 years. People, Mr. Lal called me on Thursday, and that was the end of my column. This is what Mr. Lal said to me. I am getting problems. People are complaining. You are using the paper as a mouthpiece for the government. Now listen carefully. Please go back to Mr. Lal tape and you will see Mr. Lal, my God, so unintelligent to tell his viewers what he wanted me to write. He is actually saying it on that radio program. Let me quote him. You know this from the radio program you're saying, this guy used to write about against any government, the PPP government, the APNU government. But now look what this man has become. This man has become a mouthpiece. So what this man was telling me, that he will continue with the column if I write against the government. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been around for more than 55 years. And my position on politics after 2020 is I see a direction in the Irfan Ali presidency that I support. I honestly cannot find materials. I honestly cannot find analysis that would put this man in a negative light. Maybe he will falter. I hope not. But the way the government and the Ali presidency evolved from August 2020, my politics is to support the future of Guyana with somebody who could change that future for the benefit. Mr. Lal said clear on his program, do not take my word, listen for it. He used to write and criticize government. Look what the man become. The man become a mouthpiece. So you understand, if we had met on Tuesday at 11 o'clock, he would have told me the same thing. And for me to continue, I would have to write in the vein that he pronounced on that radio program. I repeat again, and I know Gildarie, and I know Gildarie is going to do something with his face. I have my dignity, and I would not allow a semi-literate man who behaved like a monkey to tell me what to write in my columns. I'm too educated, and I have too much integrity.
I can't say I'm speechless, Freddie Kissoon. I really wish that the level of conversation that we could have in this country centers on the development of this country. I've been saying that since we started 7 months back. I couldn't even believe that we're in the 7th month now. Obviously, going forward, we have to be talking about where media is going to go again. And maybe that's for another forum. But you no longer being in Kaicho News, and you no longer being the Freddie Kissoon, who has a unique approach in things. I can say I've been a fan of yours, to be honest. And I'm your friend. I want to say I'm your friend. I haven't read all your columns, but like I said about Mr. Lal, I would defend your right to have your own opinions. I would defend any reporter's rights, because these are fundamental to the whole game of being in the media business. In a country which is developing like ours, These are things that we should treasure. These are things that we should foster. Um, I probably could ask you now because you've said a lot of things here. Uh, you've said that Mr. Lal, you don't believe Mr. Lal when you say that his figures are dropping, and you've argued that if Mr. Lal could probably show you those figures of where other columns or other pieces are rising in numbers, where does this leave Kaichur newspaper at the moment with you being out there? Do you believe that your presence would be missed?
Leonard, I've been writing for the newspaper for 28 years, and I have to be living in a real non-existent world. I happen to be living in a world that is a million times more isolated than Robinson Crusoe. When over those 28 years, not hundreds, but thousands of people have showed me their appreciation, have welcomed that column and want that column. From the time it hit the news that it was no longer there, people would say you're praising yourself. I don't want to talk about it's just there on social media. The latest is Mr. Roshan Khan saying, I will finance a paper for Freddie Kissoon. You have to come with me. You have to walk with me in the courts, in the supermarkets, to see the reaction, not to me, but I like that thing you wrote. Yes, you're brave. Yes, you got to call out those people. And that has been going on for 34 years. I was a columnist for the Catholic Standard. I could remember my first column for the Starbuck News was a piece on international relations and examining the Cold War. And I got a call from all places. I don't know why. But I got a call from the Venezuelan ambassador. That was 1988 about what I wrote. And he said, we should meet. We should, everywhere I go the past 34 years, I saw the appreciation for the column. And Leonard, you listen to the call-ins that we have. You listen to how people talk about you and the positive thing you brought when you were a journalist. Whether I will be missed or not in Kaichur is not a priority for me. What is a priority for me is to continue the Freddie Kissoon column, and it will be continued. And people out there who want to read my approach, but I will say this to those who are expecting the Freddie Kissoon column. I will be the same person. I will go after hypocrites. I will go after enemies of democracy. I will deal with Glenn Lal. I will expose all the things that Glenn Lal have done. There are people in this country, dozens of them, and one is sitting by my side here, who have left the Kaichur News and have gone to different jobs. And when I spoke to them, they would say, I left that wall behind me, want nothing more to do with him. I gone in a new life. But I am not easily intimidated. And I believe in the journalism of exposure, and I believe in the history of revisionism. I will, in my column, I will deal with people who I think are racist in this country. I will deal with people who say the worst things about government, and they are very, very billions of miles worse than the government. Those people should be exposed. I will deal with people with light complexion who don't like dark-skinned people and think they should not be in government. The Freddie Kissoon column will continue, and it will expose and it will analyze the things that I've been doing for the past 34 years in the newspaper and on television. I did years of television with Channel 13, and I will be the same in the new Freddie Kissoon column. And Mr. Lal, I am not going to be one that the dozens of people who have gone into different business and they have said nothing about Glenn Lal. Glenn Lal need to be exposed. I did my column. I know what you are going to say. Now that the column is dropped, or now that I stop writing the column, whichever one you want to choose, you're going to say this. I have to apologize. Mikhail Rodriguez, the owner of this platform, the Daybreak News, interviewed me yesterday morning. And I apologize to the people who were looking at that show with Mikhail Rodriguez for being a part of the WPA, because look what the WPA turned out. I believe my campaign, my writings helped the AFC got into power. And look what the AFC become. And I apologize. I'm apologizing to this nation. I'm apologizing to all of those who have a positive opinion of me. That yes, I wrote for 28 years and I saw Mr. Lal doing things, terrible things that I should have said, this is it. Why I didn't do that, you could blame me. I wanted to write the column so I could educate people. I could tell people what is hegemony. I could tell people who's Plato and who's the great philosopher, Martin Heidegger, and apply it to Guyana. And I turned a blind eye to the atrocities of Mr. Lal for 28 years. You can blame me for that. You can crucify me for that. I will take it. If I was supposed to be a decent person and respect my wife and daughter, maybe I should have walked away. Several people over the 3 decades I've worked said, oh, you could stand that man. Okay, so there's some things you don't have philosophical answer for. Maybe I should have walked away. But I owe it to my country. I owe it to the dozens of people that complained to me with tears in their eyes of what Mr. Lal has done. The latest is Charmin Granger, a beautiful human that I've worked with culture with for 15 years, a woman that wouldn't harm a fly. I know what they've said to me, and they've gone their own way with no complaints. I met a nice little girl on the beach with her husband. I know what Mr. Lal did. And they all gone their way and they haven't said nothing. I have a pen and I have a voice. And now that I'm gone, I will let the Guyanese people know of the atrocities of Mr. Lal. That is a promise, but most of all, that is what the Greeks call catharsis. I have hurt the Guyanese people. I have embraced large doses of hypocrisy because I stood in that paper and I saw what happened to Dale Andrews. Mr. Lal actually led responsible for that man's heart attack. And I said nothing. I didn't like the way. I don't know, Gildarie has a different personality to me. I know how I felt. Now, he may reject this, so I don't want to say it. I didn't like the way of Mr. Gildarie's treatment. I think Mr. Gildarie built that radio station. And what was the gratitude? But these people, they have a different temperament to me. They've gone. They've gone and they've gone in their own niche. Some of them work in different newspapers. Some of them work in the office of the president. Some of them all over. But this is what they always say. That is part of my life. I'm finished with it. Okay. That was part of my life. I'm finished with it. But I was the big moral preacher the past 55 years in Guyana. I was the man who exposing people for doing wrong. And I stood with the WPA, the AFC, and Glenn Lal, and saw wrongs committed. And I was part of that. All I could say is, forgive me, but I will use my pen to redeem myself.
Thank you, Freddie. Freddie, I want to ask you, I listened to what you would have said there, and I want to ask you, sir, whether in all that you said, whether in the final analysis, Kaito News is going to be part of history in Guyana. Did Glenn Lal and Kaito News do anything in your belief that was good for Guyana?
This is a revelation, and I don't know how you're going to deal with it. I functioned with Mr. Lal for 28 years, and I could tell you, the people who built that newspaper and made it into something, there were a group of us, and that group included you. You were there for 15 years. We took that paper from almost nothing and made it into something. I risked my life to write a series on the Boston conspiracy. You were the most determined investigative reporter during the the time of the PPP government. There were a group of us who built that newspaper. Mr. Lal had the money, and he flung the money around, and he used the newspaper. He used the newspaper to mask his mediocrity. So what he did, he said, you see what I did with this newspaper? You see how I took that newspaper and made it into something? No. It was us. It was the Gildarie. It was the Freddie Kissoon. It was the Michael Jordan. It was Charmaine Granger. It was Michael Baptist. It was the Adam Harris. It was some fantastic sports writers. We built that newspaper, and he took credit for it. And then we began to see his mediocrity. He started a radio station. And that radio station was in the doldrum going on for more than a year. And so he called me. Now, you can get the facts about this by researching my columns, and you will see I did a column on it. Please call me, 614-5927. I will send the column to you. He called me and said, look, we got to do something with this radio station. This radio station is dead. Would you do a daily program on it? And I said, yes. And that was it. I went into my column and I said, please look out for me with a daily radio program. I have a column with that caption. It never happened because when I begin to start and get the time slot, Mr. Lal said to me, the station are making money, but you're going to get something as we go down. And I said to him, and that was one of the reasons I so detested this man. I said, you brought in expensive equipment, put towers all over, and that radio station could only be possible by the personnel you put in it. And he said, man, but it ain't making no money. And he said, but how you built it? Look at the radio station today. Look at Mr. Lal's show. This program here is leaps and bounds. Go and look at the numbers for Sherwood Duncan, for David Hines on YouTube, and look at the numbers for Glenn Lal. I go on the sea what every day with my dog. Look the radio station they're listening to. Gordon Mosley, NCN. Go to the country and see what radio station the people have on. The radio station that is owned by NCN. And that, those and their announcers, including one of our very guests who is with NCN. Look at the numbers those people get. You compare Kaicho Radio to It's and Jams Radio, to the NCN Radio, to Channel 69 Radio. Look at Lal. Glenn Lal's radio is Glenn Lal. And 3 programs, and everything is oil. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. You would not believe, you ask Mikhail Rodriguez if you know him, you would not believe how funny and stupid the oil people in this country think of Mr. Lal. They don't even, they think the man is a comic. You wouldn't believe what the ministers say. No, we would not respond to him. We will go after him. The man is wanted. Everybody thinks the man mad. So nobody, he cannot. There are people in this country that could talk about oil and they may get the oil executive to listen. But they laugh at the Glenn Lal. And one of the person who knows about that, who interviewed the head of Exxon, is Mikhail Rodriguez, what is called Guyanese critic. And you talk to ministers about the Kaicho and Glenn Lal. Now, you think in a small society like this, people do not know what's the circulation of the Starbucks News, the Kaicho News, the Guyana Times? People know this is a very small society. So the question to answer is yes, there is no question about it. When history has been recorded, Kaicho News would stand out, and it has done tremendous. But the historian has to do his work. And the historian will never project Glenn Lal as doing for Guyana what It is what the Kaicho News did. Leonard Gildarie could tell you how much investigative stories I could tell you, but my research into Buxton and how I almost got killed. Dale Andrews was a phenomenal journalist in this country. It's just a loss to journalism that he died. Adam Harris, Adam and I had up-teen arguments. But he had the knack. He had the knack about journalism. We taught Mr. Lal. We taught Mr. Lal journalism. We taught Mr. Lal Gildarie is going to turn his face. We taught Mr. Lal how to pronounce words and how to read and write. Now, is that going low? I don't think so. I think it's being frank and it's being candid. When Mr. Lal was speaking to me and raging over the phone on Thursday, he never said apartheid. He kept saying apartheid, apartheid. They ain't got apartheid in this country. What wrong with you? What lens you wearing? They ain't got apartheid. You know, we brought Kaicho to where it is. We. But the Freddie Kissoon Show, the Freddie Kissoon Column will continue, and it's much more you will need to know. Much more. You will hear in those columns about people, ladies and gentlemen, Guyanese, wherever you are, who have no moral right to criticize some of the ministers of the government, some very dedicated patriots who are working for a future. There may be some that are not worthy of praise. There may be some who are trying. There may be some who are mediocre. But there are powerful people in this government who are patriotic and are doing good. And I resent terrible people. I resent deep wave people to attack them. They have no right. And one of those persons that they have no right to attack, and I say this unapologetically, is Dr. Muhammad Irfan Ali. I think he is doing good, and I think he will change his country. And I will use my pen. I will use my pen to show people that those who are attacking him are worse than him. And I have the facts. Don't worry.
Thank you very much, dear Freddie Kissoon. Ladies and gentlemen, we out of time. In closing, I wish that we could take the level of conversation further, lift ourselves and start talking about things that matter. The issue of the media in Guyana, how newspapers should be surviving in these modern times, which is contesting heavily with social media and the internet. How should they survive? Where are we going to be going? The issue of who has the authority or who has the right to be able to speak. These are things that Freddie Kissoon is going to be writing about. Are we going to see a new Freddie Kissoon? Of course, it pains me that we should even host an entire program to be talking about this. We should be talking about the development of this country. But it is what it is. We have a right. I have a right to defend myself. When I left Kaicho News 2 years back, it was to look after myself and get myself right. I've set the records clear. I thought Mr. Lal made a mistake there. That being the case, I wish him all the best, and I hope that he continues. But obviously, it is without Freddie Kissoon, we could have a different kind of conversation. And of course, I can't be as frontal as Freddie Kissoon. I have my own ways. Freddie Kissoon has his own ways. But it is what it is. It is where a country is. We got to start recognizing who are the enemies of this country. What are some of the issues we should be touching on? Let's don't forget, we still far, far away from becoming what I would say first world country. And those kind of conversation has to be lifted and lifted urgently. A level of care, service, how we've been seen by the other people of this world, kind of decisions, the kind of politicians that we allow into our homes, and what we take for service, the mediocrity, has to change and change drastically. And our people has to change the culture as well. The madness on the road, the things that they tolerate, the bribery, the corruption. It's not par for the course, and it should not be business as usual. Ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, I want to say good night and thank you very much to my co-host Freddie Kissoon. Please stay safe on the roadway. We will be back with you on Monday. The Gildarie Freddie Kissoon Show continues, and listen, no gossip. Have a good night.